Hello everybody, how you all doing? My name is Rafael and welcome to today's video. And finally, after more than 2 years, I can say that I am once again excited about The Division 2. Yesterday, we had a live stream. It was called The Division Day. We got information and news about Year 5 of Division 2, the mobile game Division Resurgence, which I really don't care about, so you won't see a lot about that game in this channel. And then we got some more news about Heartland. Now, Heartland is a cool idea in my opinion. However, this is just my personal speculation. I'm getting the sense that it will be a long time until we actually get to play the game. Even a beta seems way far into the future, and it makes sense with all the issues Ubisoft is currently dealing with. However, regarding Division 2, the news that we got are actually super good, super exciting about it, and that's what I'm gonna talk about in this video. I'm gonna go over the roadmap for Year 5, share with you my thoughts, and give you all the information you need. Starting off with Season 1, which is supposed to drop early June, we will get a new game mode called the Descent game mode. Now, we know that the game mode was coming, we knew about it, however, we didn't have a lot of information. What we got from yesterday's stream is that it's going to be a simulation of some kind, and you're gonna level up, get better items, get better gear, get better skills, the more you progress into the game mode. Every time you play it, I'm assuming you start from scratch, and it's going to be a mix, at least that's the vibes I'm getting. It's going to be a mix between survival from the first game, in the sense that you have to loot for brand new gear. Whatever you have on your main character doesn't matter, and that's how survival was, with a little of resistance from the first game. Resistance was the game mode in the first game where you pretty much had a bunch of waves of enemies coming at you, and you just eliminated those waves, and then you proceed to wave number 2, wave number 3, wave number 4, wave number 100, right? It had some small objectives into it, like hold this area for the next 2 minutes, or kill the 3-4 named rogue agents or hunters or bosses in the next 2 minutes. And as you progress through those levels, as you got to a higher wave, the difficulty of the enemies was increased by a lot. It was a pretty fun game mode to play, both as solo player but also as a group of 4, 3 or 2 agents. Now, I don't want to talk a lot about the Descent game mode simply because it will be available to play on PC right this afternoon, in a few hours after I'm making this video. The PTS will go live and we will be able to play it, try it out, share our thoughts and give our feedback. So what I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna just say that the Descent game mode looks pretty interesting. It could be a pretty good game mode if they implement this right, and I think that it could give a big breath of fresh air into the game. I'm also gonna stop here and we will talk a lot more about it when the PTS goes live later today. I will most likely have a stream. If not a stream, then I will have a full video tomorrow talking about my thoughts, how it works, if it's fun and things like that, in case you don't want to miss the live stream and the video about the Descent game mode, which will go out live tomorrow. Please make sure to subscribe and to turn notifications on. Moving on to Season 2, as you can see, it's called Puppeteers. We see Incursion. Now, they said that we're gonna get one new Incursion. I'm pretty sure, and I'm very happy about it, that they're referring to Incursions we got in the first game. In case you didn't play the first game and you don't know what Incursions were, pretty much they were small raids for people. It wasn't exactly raids, it was missions, but with a much bigger difficulty and a requirement for teamwork most of the times. So it wasn't giving you the sense that you're doing a legendary mission at the same time, but it was also not as complicated as today's raids are. With that being said, I'm a very big fan of that. I've been saying for pretty much the past 5 years or 4 years that raids were a huge mistake. Raids, in my opinion, took a lot of resources out of the development team, and at the end of the day, we got 2 raids which most players don't really play. The numbers are there, the stats are there, you can see the achievements in the PlayStation and the Xbox about what's the percentage of the player base that actually has even completed the raids only once, and the numbers are super low. Incursions were much easier for a player to enter, much easier for a player to matchmake and complete them. Raids add a different level of difficulty, which require you to find a group in a Discord server, have everyone with mics, be able to communicate. all those things turn away a lot of players, and that's why they don't really participate in the raids. So seeing Incursions coming back, even one, right? Even one Incursion is good. I'm pretty happy about it. Keep in mind that I could be wrong here, and Incursions might mean a completely different thing in Division 2 compared to what they mean in Division 1, but I think for the most part it's going to be pretty much the same thing. Season 3 Vanguard, we're going back to New York. I think this doesn't really mean anything. I just mean that the manhunt is going to be in New York City, and the story there about Keener and its rogues agents, it's going to progress. I think they also said that we're going to get some new clues or whatever. So I don't think it's really as exciting as it sounds, back to New York City. Because everybody, you've seen the Reddit posts, go back to New York City, go back to New York. But everybody is talking about how the New York City was, how New York was during the first game. With the snow, the apocalyptic element style to it. That's what they're really missing, not the New York version that we got with the second game. I just think that they needed something to field in the Season 3 part, and that's why they went with this cutscene back to New York. Now, moving on to Season 4, and the biggest piece of news that we got is, of course, the new story DLC and Season 2.0. They said that the story DLC will include new missions, new zones, and a whole new end game structure. This is obviously pretty cool news. However, now I want to take a moment and share with you my biggest fear. Even though I'm super excited about getting a new DLC, a new end game structures, and new zones, and new missions, I'm afraid that if they do the exact same thing they did with Warlords of New York, the player base will be pissed as fuck, and instead of obtaining or getting returning players to your game, what you're gonna do is you're gonna manage to make the player base that's stuck with you for the past 4 years super angry with you to the point that a lot of them will quit. And the reason I'm saying that is because when Warlords of New York came out and the level cap was increased from 30 to 40, pretty much all the progress players have done didn't matter at all, simply because all their items were useless. Now, people complained back then about this exact reason. However, most players didn't really care because the game at this point was just 1 year old. So, who really cares? Now, when this new DLC will be introduced, the game will be 5 years old. And removing that first year until Warlords of New York came out, we have 4 years that the player base has been playing the same endgame, 4 years that the player base have been perfecting their builds, 4 years of trying to find an perfect backpack or perfect chest piece and recalibrating and optimizing your items and all that kind of stuff. Players have spent thousands of hours perfecting their endgame gear. If they decide to approach this the same way they did with Warlords of New York and they effectively make all that progress completely irrelevant, players will be very pissed, and I would say rightfully so. Look, I'm a guy who makes videos about a video game, and at the end of the day, I'm getting paid for it. I'm not getting paid from Ubisoft or Massive, obviously. I'm getting paid from YouTube for all the views that I get. And I want to say here that I live in a country where minimum wage is 750 euros. So even though my channel is pretty small, I'm making a pretty good amount of money every month from just posting YouTube videos compared to what a guy who works 8 and 12 hours a day in a cafeteria or in a restaurant or wherever might be making. I'm not making that much, but it is a very good portion of that. So I wouldn't mind if everything was literally obliterated about the endgame that we have now and a brand new endgame appeared and we had to grind again for thousands of hours, because I could make a bunch of videos again, So I would personally benefit out of that. However, the average player isn't like that. The casual Division 2 player, I don't think feels like he wants to spend another 2,000 hours in this game trying to make all of his gear perfect, right? I think that it will be a very bad decision to go ahead and remove the importance and the meaning of the items that we have been farming for so long for the average player. As I said, Don't get mad at me. I'm just sharing my thoughts here. As I said, I don't mind. I would actually make a bunch of money if that happened. So I don't have any issues with it happening. But for the player base that doesn't make any money out of this game, and that's the 99.99% of the player base, that would be like, saying to you, hey, remember those 4 years you've been grinding? Well, that doesn't matter anymore. None of the items you obtain over the past 4 years actually matter. I don't know. I just think that it could be a very, very tricky situation. They also mentioned Seasons 2.0, where apparently things will drastically change compared to what we have now. That's a very, very needed change in my opinion, and a very good one, because we have been getting the same sort of seasons for the past 4 years. Hey, go do one bounty, 2 control points, one convoy, whatever it might be. Then you will get a bounty. That bounty will be a manhunt target. Congratulations, you killed the manhunt target. See you in 2 weeks again for the next manhunt target or whatever. Seasons right now are super, super boring, super repetitive. The only exciting thing about seasons as things are right now is, of course, the new gear that we get. And when the new gear is not that good, like this season's gear and this season's exotics, then you have a huge drop in players' interest about your game for the next 3 or 4 months, because simply the only thing that they're looking forward to, and that's the gear, isn't good enough. It's pretty easy for Massive to fuck up one season simply because the gear that they brought wasn't that cool. That's what I'm saying. If the season activities were much more exciting and much, much better, I think even if the gear wasn't that great, players would still play the game. I'm not saying that everybody quit it during this season, but what I'm saying is, amongst me and the people I talk to, and a lot of you guys who comment down below on the videos and on the posts that I make, I've seen a lot of people say the exact same thing I'm saying. This season's gear is crap. I'm not playing the game until next season arrives. So having brand new type of seasons, I think it's going to be very important for the future of the game. Now, what I find very interesting, and that's the last thing I want to talk to you guys about before we close this video, because it's already longer than I would preferred. You see here on Roadmap Year 5, we have Season 4, Story DLC, Seasons 2.0. But what we don't see is what Season 4 implies. By adding a brand new Story DLC at the end of Year 5 and a brand new type of seasons at the end of Year 5, it means that the game is literally set up, ready to go for a Year 6. And that's what I think it's also super, super important about this roadmap. I mean, the new game mode, the descent mode is cool, incursions are good. However, the biggest and most important part of this entire roadmap is Season 4 and what's to come after it, so to say. In my opinion, what they will do is they will support the game for 1 more year after Year 5, all the way to the end of Year 6. And at that point, now we're talking about 2 years into the future from now, right? They will come out and say, you know guys what, the game is 6 years old. I think it's time we call it. They're gonna drop support and they will start working on Division 3 if they don't have already by that point. I know that a couple of weeks ago I covered an article from insidergaming.com where I said what they said pretty much, that they have inside information from Ubisoft that says currently Division 3 isn't in development. However, that doesn't mean that it will never be in development. By that time, by the end of Year 6, Avatar will be released. Star Wars will be released. So Massive will be able to go back to their Division game and start building a 3rd installment. So yeah, that's it pretty much, guys. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Thank you very much for watching. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Bye bye.